Negotiations for the NFL's new collective bargaining agreement are ongoing as the players' union thinks over an agreement the owners have already approved. Welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Kelly Warner here with Matt Szczypiorski and Jeremy Ganes, and we are here to explain just what the collective bargaining agreement is and the important terms in it and the implications it has for the league. So guys, what this CBA is proposing includes a 17-game season, one less preseason game, one extra playoff game in each conference, with only one number one seed getting a first-round bye. What are your takeaways?
Well, for me, obviously, more football is great if you're a fan. You know, more games to watch in the regular season, and of course, more playoff games is going to add to the wild card. The downside to me, though, takes place particularly in the playoffs. I'm a little bit concerned personally that you might be diluting the wild card round a little bit. You're also really changing the dynamic of how the playoffs are going to work in terms of how the teams are going to compete for those seeds. You know, that number one seed now is going to be super important, whereas you could get by with a number two seed and getting the first round bye. It's super important now to be able to get home field throughout the playoffs and have that bye because you're not going to get it otherwise.
I agree with you, Jeremy. I think the other part to this 17-game season, too, is that most of the players are complaining about is they're not getting an extra bye week during this season, so it's just more opportunity for injuries. And also, they're not figuring out how the pay scale is going to work because some of the players want to be paid more for that 17th game because the season's going to be longer. And as of right now, that is not in the plans. Although I do like the preseason being shortened by one game. I think everybody can agree with that. I don't think anybody just wanted to see another preseason game. And as for the two extra playoff games, I think it'd be interesting if you have a lot of teams competing for that 6 or 7 spot. But this season, that 7th spot in the AFC went to the Steelers, and the Steelers-Chiefs first-round playoff game, probably not too exciting to watch.
Totally good points, guys. What terms of this deal are going to benefit the players? Because you mentioned how they want to get paid for that 17th game, but what are the benefits here?
Well, I think one of the benefits here is that they're reducing the number of training camp practices from 28 to 16. I think that's really going to help them in the long run, stay out of the dog days of summer a little bit. And also rosters here would expand by 2 players from 53 to 55 on game day, which is giving more players an opportunity to play, more players in case of injury. And then also there are practice squad sizes are going up from 10 to 12 and then eventually to 14. So more guys are going to have jobs here.
Yeah, it definitely benefits that underbelly, if you will, of the league. You know, all the more common player, really, probably a better way of putting it. It's just going to make it easier for guys to get on a roster and give themselves a chance to stick. You know, just having those extra couple players, that really might matter for a guy who otherwise might get cut because of, you know, positional needs. Sometimes teams were going to structure the roster a different way, and a guy that might be able to make a different roster might be able to stick on that team with the roster being a little bit bigger. Another added benefit for the majority of players in the league is that their minimum salaries are going to be raised by about $100,000 in that minimum contract. So, you know, $100,000 for a guy who's not making that much in the league on a yearly basis, you know, not getting that long-term contract, that money really matters. So it definitely benefits a lot of players in this league who aren't, you know, making the $15, $20 million that a lot of the stars are.
And so what aspects of the current deal do you think need to be changed?
Well, I mean, as of right now, the main problem with the deal that players are having is that it's a 10-year deal with no opt-outs. So if they want things to change eventually, they can once they sign this agreement for 10 years. That's a long time, guys. And also, you know, there's star players really speaking out about the deal. They don't want this. They don't want to be subjecting themselves to more injuries. Big star players like Russell Wilson, J.J. Watt have already been adamantly against it. And Richard Sherman, who's running for president of the NFLPA, really does not like it. He's really against it, and he's running on that platform right now. It'd be interesting to see what they would change.
Yeah, you kind of see this split among the players right now. Usually when you think about a labor negotiation in the NFL, you think it's just players versus the owners. There's really a split among the players in terms of those upper echelon factions and the more common player, because this deal offers them 2 different things, really. The star players are kind of having their salary capped for that additional game. And of course, as you said, no additional bye, you know, more risk of wear and tear without the added benefit of at least getting paid more for it. So it's not really worth it for them in their mind, the way they see it. But the majority of players are getting more money, like we've talked about. They have a better chance of sticking on a roster. So this really works in their favor. So, you know, Nate Solder is basically the voice of the common player. He's talked about how those guys don't have the social media following that some of these more prominent players do. So he's trying to show people that a lot of players are actually in favor of this deal and think that it can benefit them. So you kind of see those two sides going at it right now. It's a very interesting dynamic that we haven't really seen in recent years with player union negotiations.
These are all really interesting points, guys. I'm really interested to see how it goes. Those are the biggest takeaways for the ongoing negotiations of the NFL's new collective bargaining agreement. For more news and discussion on labor issues in football, make sure to keep it locked on Penn State Sports Night.
Thank you for watching our latest edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also follow us on Twitter at PSSNTV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.